Hey guys, so I wanted to present an alternative to manifesting a specific person for the people that end up on my channel or this video who are searching the specific person category, who have consumed all the other content and it still isn't satisfying enough and they're still looking for more and more stuff to consume about it, which in and of itself, I think, indicates something. So I wanted to present the alternative to manifesting a specific person, which is pretty close to the traditional route of just getting over it, and why you are at a point where this is a good direction to go in, maybe more so than it would have been in the past. If you've gotten introduced to this manifestation stuff and you came to it from heartbreak or wanting to get a specific person, you've basically been alerted to a whole range of possibilities that you probably didn't consider before. And wasting your time manifesting a person that you got into a relationship with or that you became attracted to from a previous state of mind where you weren't aware of all these things, it's such a waste of the potential and possibilities that are now sitting in front of you. And so I wanted to just sort of give you maybe like a motherly or big sisterly or friendly rundown of why maybe like just letting this person go is a better thing to do than to spend a bunch of mental energy trying to like manifest them into your life. Number one, and by the way, I'm totally spitballing here. Number one, most of the people that I've seen that are manifesting a specific person are doing so with somebody who really isn't, like, this person is not a match for the best ideal version of yourself. And so if you manifest this person back, you are going to end up with somebody who you're eventually probably going to have to dump. And that may seem exciting to you from where you are right now, but you know, when you actually get to the point where you have outgrown somebody and you have to end a relationship, it's not fun. It's not pleasant. And I think for most people, even if somebody really hurt you, there's not a lot of pleasure in hurting them back. Like if you're a decent person, you don't get off on hurting other people. So, you know, I think it makes sense to just kind of think about whether or not that is sort of the eventuality, and you kind of know that. Because I've been there. You know, you can really want something while at the same time you kind of know better, but you still go after it anyway. Just taking a second to just pause. You know, nothing's going anywhere. Everything you want is still going to be there. You can just take a second to pause and think, you know, is this really a situation I want to get myself into? And I think for a lot of you, the answer is, truthfully, it's not. It's coming from somewhere else. It's coming from the desire to right a wrong or vindicate yourself, or maybe, you know, just get back into it. So, you know what? I started with a number one, but I think I'm just going to leave it at that. That's the biggest and best reason that I have for why you probably aren't really going after a true desire. This person is not really a match for the best version of yourself. And where you are right now is at a point where you understand that you have the power to create the life that you want. So that includes creating the self that you want and creating all of the feelings about yourself that you want. So you don't have to conform yourself. You don't have to become this thing that society thinks is, you know, the attractive woman or whatever the version is for men. You don't have to conform into whatever society thinks that you should be. You can decide what you want to be and decide how you want to feel about that, and then create everything in your life that reflects that. So if you're at a point where you're like kind of in the throes of heartbreak, and that's how you found all this stuff, you're obsessed with this person and you just can't get over that pain. I've been there. I know exactly what that feels like. It's the worst thing. I've been there many times, especially if you're somebody who has suffered through a lot of heartbreaks. You know, it doesn't seem to get easier. It doesn't, you know, even knowing that it's happened before and that you rebounded and found somebody else, not, you know, it doesn't really help. It just sucks when you're in the middle of it. And I think a good way to look at it is pretend that your emotional pain is physical pain, because it kind of is. Just imagine that your heartbreak is a broken bone, and that there is a period of time that you're going to go through where that broken bone is healing, and it's going to suck, but its days are numbered essentially. And start approaching this, drop the SP manifestation and start approaching this. Separate yourself from the heartbreak mentally, put it aside, think clearly, take the emotion out of it for a second, and just ask yourself, where do I want to be when the amount of days that has to go by has elapsed? So when I'm on day 1 of this thing being in the past, what do I want to have present in my life? This is what I've done with everything for like 2 decades. And I've always taken the approach to any bad thing that's happening in life, not just heartbreaks, but anything, that when this is over, I know this will be over eventually. That's just a maturity thing. You eventually understand that things don't last forever. Everything passes. So when this thing is over, where do I want to be? I want to be in a better place when this period of time that I have to get through has elapsed. I want to be in a better place than I was before it happened. So wherever you were before you met this person that has caused you all this heartbreak, or that you feel all this heartbreak about, where were you, and where do you want to be when this thing is over? When you've let it go and you've moved on, where do you want to be? What were the things during this relationship that made you feel insecure? Start addressing those things. If you didn't feel like you were smart enough or educated enough, start addressing that. You can you can figure out some way to get into school or do something to better yourself. In the meantime, it's totally unrelated. And when you come out of it, you'll be at a point where you're not as vulnerable or susceptible to those same feelings again the next time you're in a relationship, or anything else. Like for me, I always had issues with myself physically. So especially recently, in like the last 5 years, I've just started to view hard times in my life as a point where I can, hey, you know what? I can go to the gym right now. I can be miserable and still, go to the gym and do a workout. It sucks. It's hard to do when you're feeling depressed, but if you keep doing these little things during these bad periods of time, it builds a conviction, A, that you're going to get out of it, and B, it ends up with a real result at the end of it where you are actually better than you were when the bad thing happened. When my dad got sick, that was totally out of my control. This was about a year and a half ago. I knew there was going to be, some bad things to deal with. He was going to have to be sick. He was going to have to die. And then I was going to have to deal with whatever impact that had on my life. But one thing that I did, there was one thing that I could control that I knew would produce an outcome that I wanted at the end of it. And that was, I used all of my effort that I had. I used all of everything I had to make sure that I didn't take anything out that was happening to me on Matt, my fiance, who was not my fiance at the time. I looked at the whole situation and I said, this is a bad situation, but I'm going to make sure that this one thing it is better than it was when we both got into the situation, because he basically was there with me the whole time. And so that's what I did. That's what I focused on during that. I didn't see another area where I could, when it first started happening, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to be such a rock star. Like, I'm going to join a gym down here, and like, I am going to like improve my body during this. Like, when he has died, the day after he has died, I'm going to be looking in the mirror and I'm going to be like, wow, I did this big thing, like, while this bad thing was happening. I let that go pretty fast. There was just no fucking way. But with my relationship, I was just like, I'm really stressed out and I'm really frustrated. My patience is really short, and I'm going to make absolutely sure I don't subject him to anything, any part of this. Like, I'm going to use my strength to control that part of my life, so that when this is over, we came through this bad time, and we're going to both know that we can get through a bad time together without, things imploding or something like that. And that's what happened. And we got engaged a few months later after my dad died. So every time I have a situation that's bad like that, I try to get something good out of it on the other end, because you could easily just say fuck it to everything and let everything fall apart. And then when you are finally over it, when you are finally on the other side of it, then you have a bigger mess to clean. You know, you have another mess to clean up. You're in a worse place than you were when you started. And this is the difference between rock stars and normal people and people that are unsuccessful with stuff. So an alternative, and my big secret, you know, that's my big secret to getting ahead, you know, make something good happen out of a bad situation. If you can do that with heartbreak, you're a rock star. But so the purpose of this video was just to say, you know, you've been introduced to some pretty major insights into the way life works just by watching these SP videos that are all over. You know, they're mostly bullshit, but the underlying concept that you have mental influence over your reality to a much greater degree than you've been led to believe, that is true. And knowing that, wasting time on some relationship that you are probably much better off without, you know, it's an unwise move. That's what I'm just gonna start referring to things as wise or unwise. It's a waste of energy that you could be spending on yourself. That's always the best place to spend your energy, is on yourself, because your world will naturally reflect all of the positive changes that you make, and permanently, and without you trying, and without a lot of mental effort or focus or any of that stuff. You know, even if there's very little that you can do from where you are, you can probably start doing better things for your health. You can start making, you know, different choices about what you eat and how you're, you know, being health-wise. You can take care of yourself more, which I know is difficult. I know that's difficult when you're feeling heartbroken, but you can do it. You can just say, you know, no matter how shitty I'm feeling, I am going to take care of my skin and floss and brush my teeth. And then when this thing is over, I'm going to look fucking awesome. Like, I'm going to feel, and it makes you feel better too. Or, you know, you can do things like meditate. Anybody can meditate. And meditation sounds so boring, and it kind of is. But the thing is, it trains your brain to focus. It trains your brain to declutter. And that can be incredibly useful. It is incredibly useful all the time, but that can be incredibly useful in heartbreak type situations. And then when you're out of the heartbreak situation, you can use your greater ability to focus to manifest the things you do want, because being able to focus and choose your thoughts is one of the basic things that you need to be good at if you want to make things happen on purpose, deliberately, with manifestation. So I hope that helped somebody.